Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. We're back today with my deck profile that I brought to YCS Kitchen Table. We're going to kind of just breeze through it. I'll kind of explain different tech choices that I might have used in it, but we will just kind of breeze through it. Don't really want to do an in-depth deck profile right now, since that just takes a bit of time to explain, and there are a lot of really good profiles out there that do explain it. And I'll maybe link. I've been working on a little spreadsheet that kind of goes over different like ratios for different builds recently, and then also different like videos that are good to watch. And I'll probably just throw that in the description down below. It's free. You guys can check it out if you want. It's something that I do to help me learn how decks function and play and stuff. But we'll get started. So the ratios are pretty standard, right? We have the 3 Anguish, and then we have the 3 Fish Horse guy, and then we play the 2 Goblin Bikers. The 2 Memento Goblins. We play 2 just because typically, if you're running the Goblin Biker quick plays, you want one in the deck if you hard open the other one. Otherwise, the spells ends up being dead. We have Darkblade. He's your 4th copy of Anguish, right? And then your one-ofs, you have Mace. Lets you search for stuff. Sleepy lets you fuse with stuff. Gaddock lets you add stuff back to your hand. Akihiron lets you add stuff from your grave or banished when it's popped. And then you have Trihorned, or the Memento and Horn Dragon, right? If you have 3 in the graveyard, he's just a free extender, pretty much, for some plays. And then you got the big guy. Thank goodness he's a one-of. I didn't realize he was super freaking expensive when I picked up this deck. He ends up being like half the cost of the deck when you pick him up. But then you have the 1 Mictlan as well, the 1 field cell. So lots of one-ofs, which kind of influence how big my main deck is. I kind of took cues off of my Rescue Ace builds, where if I have a bunch of bricks, I'm going to increase the count from 40 to a little bit higher, just so that way I hopefully don't see as many bricks, right? But then we also play 3 Bone Party, 3 Fusion. And then we also play a 1-for-1 Grand Break and 2 Grand Breakouts. The 1-for-1 is nice because it facilitates turning hand traps into either Mace or Goblin. Or if you already have full combo and you have, you open one of your bricky names, you can also go 1-for-1 for Lurie. Spoiler, we also are playing the Fiendsmith package. The reason why I opted for Fiendsmith instead of Canine is it's an engine that I'm more familiar with, but also if you play Lacrima, it turns Tract into a 1-card starter for the Memento stuff, or 3 Engraver without the Tract, or without the Lacrima is full combo as well. So we play 3 Engraver, 1 Lacrima, 1 Lurie, 1 Tract. And like I said, Engraver and Tract can get you into your full Memento combo as well. From there we'll go into our non-engine stuff. We got 3 Fua, right? It's just nice to see to draw into whatever you need. Hopefully deters your opponent from setting up too crazy of a board. Hopefully gives you draws into what you need as well. But then we play Ash Blossom, right? It works as a defensive card against the Fuas, but also the YCS Kitchen Table was just a couple guys from our locals that I'm really close with and stuff, and so I know them pretty well and the decks they like to play. I knew that we would have at least 1 Yummy, and we'd have a Draco Tail, and then the other 2 guys that were also playing were kind of toss-ups. I wasn't sure what they were bringing. One of them kind of favors White Forest, but he also plays a bunch of other stuff as well. And then another one of my friends, he plays, typically he really likes what is that called, Exodia, the Millennium deck and stuff. But he ended up bringing he ended up bringing Mitsurugi, and then The other guy did not bring White Force. He brought Live Twin Fiendsmith. But the Ashes I felt like were generic enough that would probably be helpful just to have, but also it's defensive against, Charmies and everything. But they also work against the Draco Tail, covers the Draco Tail matchup. Not as great into Yummy, I feel like, just because they have so many ways to get to whatever they need to get to. We got 3 Ghost Spell. I am afraid of Called By. It's nice because it also hits. It hits Draco Tail. It keeps them, keeps their traps dead. Hurts Yummy when they try to summon back. It hits a lot of different decks. It hits the Fiendsmith engine. It technically hits the Canine engine, right, with the Lupus or even Lantern. And Mitsurugi, it also hits, right? It hits any of the tributed ritual monsters where if they try to come back, you just hit them with the Ghost Spell. And then we also play 2 Nib and 3 Super Poly. We opted for Super Poly just because it's pretty good into a lot of the decks that I was expecting to face, right? Good into Mitsurugi because they end on Darks, right? It's good against Yummy. There was one play where, I started playing, I get hit with an Ash, and then he drops a Fua, and I end up, setting 2 Super Polys, and then hanging on to a Lurie and a Goblin Biker card, and just passing it over because I figured, he'll try to make a full board with Yummy, and I'll be able to Super Poly some of the stuff off, and I was able to do that. I Super Polyed off Herald and a name, and then made Muddragon. Then I did a Super Poly 2 of the names. I went into Garura and pitched the Lurie and was able to go full Fiendsmith combo the next turn. So Super Poly is really good. I really like it, especially in a fusion deck, and I feel like it. Your opponent can't respond is pretty dang broken. So that's the main deck. It's 45, I believe. Like I said, I really liked upping the count when I'm playing a deck that has a lot of bricks, so I don't see them as much. Next up, we have the extra deck, right? We're going to start with 3 of the Memento names, right? You have the 1 Twin Dragon and then the 2 big guys. You fuse into the big guy, you send a big guy. That's pretty much the engine right there, right? But then I also feel like part of the Memento engine is you got to play SP and you got to play Guardian Chimera. SP is the end board piece that lets you beat Nib, and then Guardian Chimera is just, it's great. You usually end with a Memento fusion set, and so on your opponent's turn you can go Guardian Chimera, pop 2, draw 1, pop 1, draw 2. Right. So I feel like these are both Memento engine names that you kind of have to play when you're playing the deck. And then we're going to go into the Fiendsmith engine, right? We play 1 Requiem, 1 Sequence, and then the Agnum Day. Agnum Day is pretty optional. I like Agnum Day just because if they end up, you go Sequence, make the Desiree, and then you go Sequence and Desiree into Agnum Day, summon back the Desiree, and then you end up, if they clear the Desiree at any point with like Dark Ruler or where it gets negated where you don't use the effect. If they clear it, you go Lacrima, summon back Agnum Day, summon the Desiree, and then you have the negate again. So Agnum Day is more of a bit of a grind, but this could be a flex spot. This could be, Dragastapelia or IP if you really were feeling that. But then end board pieces, right? We have Caesar as well. And then the Fiendsmith stuff that you do need to play in order to bridge into the Memento stuff. You got to play the Lacrima, and then you got to play Aerial Eater, and you got to play Cross Sheep, right? Because at some point, go track, make Lacrima, and then sequence, make Aerial Eater, send the Goblin, go sequence, and Aerial Eater in the Cross Sheep. Aerial Eater banishes this Lacrima and an Engraver, summons itself back, and then Cross Sheep brings out your Goblin. And then you go off from there, and then you have 2 bodies. You can convert that into a SP or whatever you really are needing. And then Super Poly targets, we have Garura and Muddragon. This Agnum Day at one point was going to be Secretarian Dragon because I knew Brendan would be on Dracotail. But I ultimately just felt like Secretarian just doesn't do much into Dracotail. I mean, it's a nice floodgate against them, right? But typically, if they go Key 2, they make Arthalion, but they add like the pan, and that just pops the Secretarian Dragon. And it's like, oh, cool. Well, anyways, keep going. So, Secretarian Dragon just didn't feel high value enough to go into this build. Next up, we'll go into the side deck. Like I said, this was a small locals pretty much, and so I knew what to expect. I knew what I wanted to build, and what to kind of go, what I felt would work best against some of these guys' deck. Right? I was expecting Cayman to bring a back row deck, like something like Millennium, or I mean he had my I let him borrow my Odeon stuff, and so I thought he might play probably my Odeon, and so for that I played 1 Feather Duster, 2 Lightning Storm. The board breakers are really good into pretty much all of the decks, I feel like. Right, it's Lightning Storm's gonna force out the Herald if you're targeting back row, or if they play it in attack mode, Lightning Storm definitely draws that out. But sometimes it's just nice to clear out back row, just in case, right? And then we also played Dark Hole. I almost called it Dark Ruler. We played 3 Dark Hole, right? Because if you normal summon a monster, you can go Dark Hole, pop, destroy everything on the field, and then it turns on Memento Fusion. But it's just another good board wipe, right? Herald has to react to this. If they set up Herald couple sets, you go Dark Hole, they're going to have to Herald negate, and then you can go Dester right after, force out their interactions early. Make them use those at an unopportune time. And then we'll go into, we have our going first package. Well, we'll just finish our going second stuff, right? So that's more going second stuff. And then Droll. I feel like Droll is a pretty good going second one. Keeps things, you control the tempo a little bit with this. Like I said, I was expecting White Forest. Didn't see it. I mean, it would have been okay against the Fiendsmith stuff if they start with Engraver, but I don't know if, I mean, it keeps Live Twin from drawing a ton. It hurts Mitsurugi. Didn't think anybody was going to play Mitsu, which is why this was not in the main deck. But hurts Yummy a little bit, makes them play awkward if they open with Engage, right? But that's Droll. And then we play for our going first package. We have Iron Thunders, double Iron Thunder, 1 Solemn Judgment. It's just nice to be able to protect your board from a Dark Ruler or from, getting your stuff popped, and Judgment when they normal if Yummy normal something, you can just pop it, and they have to have extenders from there, right? These are really bad against Dracotail, right? Because if they go Kitu or Rahu, you negate the activation. They're like, okay, cool. Anyways, second one. The nice thing is, if they don't open it and they have to use a Dracotail name to set it, then it's like, cool, you just wasted one, so now you have to use another resource to get the other one, right? And then we got D-Barrier as the other going first card. It's good into Dracotail, it's good into Yummy, it's good into Mitsu, good into White Force, I guess you call Synchros, but that's just that's kind of how it goes. Like I said, I really enjoyed the deck a lot. I think it's one of the decks that I will stick around and play with for a while. It just feels like a big brain deck, and I really like those combo decks where you kind of have to think about what you have to do. And so I'll be experimenting on a couple different builds and see which ones I like and see which one will feel viable, really. So, if you guys have any questions or comments about the build, I'd love to hear them. But that will be it. I'll leave it there. Like I said, I'll link that spreadsheet that I've been working on for a little while with this deck in the description down below. Give it a peek if you're interested in learning the deck. And if you guys are interested, well, even if you guys aren't interested, I'll probably make a more in-depth deck profile explaining the deck a little bit more and do some test hands, stuff like that. But this is probably a deck that I really like. And so I think I will probably make some content around it as well. Again, thank you for watching. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.